Welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we're unpacking something absolutely fascinating, especially if you're an executive in media, marketing, or really anywhere that deals with user engagement. We're looking at a highly specific creative brief for a project called the Technicolor Menagerie. Now, if you've ever watched children's media and wondered about the hidden architecture behind it, well, you are in the right place. We're going to deconstruct exactly how these blueprints are formulated to capture, hold, and educate a young mind, and more importantly for us, what we can learn from those incredibly strict mechanics. Let's get into it.
I want to start by posing this framing question directly to you. What makes the perfect toddler video? You know, it's so easy to look at successful children's entertainment and just assume it's this chaotic, happy explosion of colors and sounds that magically came together. But as our source material reveals, engaging a toddler requires a strictly mechanical, carefully engineered approach. There's an absolute science to the whimsy here, and literally nothing is left to chance.
Okay, let's dive into this. Section 1. The Menagerie Blueprint. So the source material outlines a set of totally non-negotiable rules for this 10-minute video. And the very first one focuses on the delivery mechanism. The text dictates that the conduit for all information must be a cheerful, animated narrator. Think about the psychology for a second. The narrator isn't just a voice, right? They're the emotional anchor for the child. They project this relentless positivity to ensure the viewer feels safe, welcomed, and ready to absorb new information. It establishes trust right from the very first frame.
Now, the elements required here, games, colorful objects, songs, and questions, these are not just polite creative suggestions. They are the mandatory building blocks demanded by the brief. The creator is explicitly told they must use these specific tools to teach colors effectively. You can't just say, show a red square. No way. You have to sing about it, ask a question about it, turn it into a game, and attach it to a visually stimulating object. It's a full-on multi-sensory approach designed for maximum retention.
Moving right along, Section 2, Targeting the Toddler Demographic.
Defining this exact age range, 2 to 5 years old, is absolutely critical. And honestly, it's a fantastic reminder for any product launch or marketing campaign. A highly specific demographic dictates every single creative choice that follows. At this developmental stage, cognitive processing relies heavily on literal, immediate stimuli, so the content has to be perfectly calibrated to match that reality. Which brings us to this explicit instruction from the source: speak directly to children. The brief requires the creator to completely smash the fourth wall. There is absolutely no passive observation allowed here. By speaking directly to the viewer, the animated narrator establishes an immediate, almost visceral bond with the child. It creates this illusion of a one-on-one interaction, making the toddler feel seen, involved, and just hyper-engaged. All right, Section 3, Mechanics of Color and Sound. The brief provides a highly structured checklist for introducing concepts. Every single time a color appears, it must be accompanied by these 4 things: bright visuals, simple words, repetition, and interactive guessing games. It is a rigid, mechanical formula for engagement. The bright visuals grab the eye, the simple words allow for easy processing, the repetition cements the memory, and those guessing games force active participation. It's like a finely tuned engine. Repetition, repetition, repetition. I really cannot overstate how important this rhythmic vocal pacing is in the source text. When you combine simple words with relentless repetition, you are looking at the vital gears that make this whole thing function. A 2-year-old doesn't learn a concept by hearing it once in a complex sentence. Actually, scratch that, neither do most adults. They learn it by hearing it over and over and over again in the absolute simplest terms possible.
Let's look at a practical example. Section 4, The Animal Sounds Challenge.
The brief specifically dictates this playful activity: guess the animal by its sound. It is such a brilliant interactive hook. Just imagine our cheerful animated narrator pausing, cupping their ear, playing a moo or a quack, and then just waiting for the child to literally shout the answer at the screen. It's immediate, and it perfectly leverages sound to reinforce the visual learning happening right alongside it. And the reason this works so incredibly well is that guessing games build active engagement. This specific challenge perfectly satisfies the brief's mandatory requirement for interactivity. It takes the viewer from a state of passive consumption, just sitting back and watching colors go by, and forces them into a state of active participation. When the child guesses the animal, they become an active part of the narrative. It's gamification in its absolute purest form. Almost done here. Section 5. Strict creative boundaries. Now, what the brief forbids is just as important as what it demands, and this brilliantly illustrates that point. Notice the stark divide here.
On one side, we have direct conversation with children, which, as we discuss, is the required immersive experience. On the other side, we have teaching advice or lesson plans. The brief creates a hard firewall between these two concepts. You are building an experience for the end user, not a curriculum guide for the adults sitting next to them. Just listen to this direct quote from the text. Do not provide teaching advice or lesson plans. It is an absolute boundary. The brief demands a finished script, complete with narration, scene descriptions, and interactions. It explicitly forbids the creator from stepping out of character to explain the pedagogy to the parents. The magic trick must never be ruined by explaining how it works while the show is actually running.
So, what does this all mean for us? It leaves us with this final thought. Why does direct, playful engagement so often trump formal instruction? It's a fascinating question about the constraints of media that we've just unpacked. Whether you're entertaining a toddler or designing an app for high-level executives, the core lesson is surprisingly similar. When you strip away the lectures and just focus on clear visuals, repetition, and a prompt to participate, learning doesn't feel like learning at all. It just feels like play. Thanks for joining me for this explainer. I hope you found this blueprint as fascinating as I did. Catch you next time.